so that I can take a sip of coffee. And this will also be a break in the videos so that I can now focus and turn attention to our focus for this year, which is 2021, fellowship establishment. And really that's the bare bones of it, of what we're doing. If we don't have the relationship, if we don't have fellowship, none of this exists. There is no reverse market mechanics. There is no time bank without true partnership, fellowship, relationship. So I shared the first part of this presentation with my core fellowship. There are 4 of us so far. I participate in, I would probably say about 8 or 9 different fellowships, some that are associated with this time bank, some that are not. And this is what I have observed, and these observations might change as we move forward, but these are some of the things that I would encourage you to look for if you are wanting to establish a fellowship. Normally, a consistent fellowship will include 3 to 5 members. It can be less, it can be more. That's fine, whatever really works and whatever truly serves every single member in the fellowship. I've been a part of fellowships that had 25 people meet the first time, and then only 3 of us met the second time. So you really kind of find out if your relationship is real, depending on the commitment there. And I would tend to say a deep commitment from people, will usually entail about 3 to 5. 3 is a good therapy session. You get a lot, you get to express a lot. So if that's your intention in a fellowship, 3 is a good number. 4 really provides stability. You get enough feedback that you can get things done and you can take small steps forward. And that's what I really encourage, is just small, consistent steps, and appreciate every small, consistent step forward. 5, what I've found so far is that once you get that 5th member in, there's usually someone who kind of does not feel heard and they feel inspired to start their own fellowship. And that's good. We encourage that. We encourage people to participate and initiate based on some of those feelings of not being heard or feelings of not feeling like a contributor. So we encourage you to look at that. And when you get above 5 like that, usually they're more niche based than they are about the emotional content of fellowship. So, so those are just some of the things I've observed, and I encourage you to, to think about what you want to create a fellowship about, what's really in your heart, and just see who shows up, see who is truly dedicated to, what you want to share or what you want to talk about or what your fellowship is about. So success in creating an equal partnership economy is dependent upon participating in fellowships and initiating fellowships. So I always advise our members, you're doing good, you're on the right path. If you attend a fellowship to listen and participate and be a part of, you're always part of the team, but then you're also initiating, you're creating fellowships around what your specific passion is. So if you're involved in 2 fellowships, you're doing the right thing. It's, you're right there. So, you can participate and initiate fellowships as much as you want, logging those hours. We would be on course for the 5-year plan in creating $1 trillion economy and growing if everybody is both participating and initiating a fellowship. So if you're doing, 1 or 2 hours of participating and 1 to 2 hours of initiating every month, then you're on par. That's all you need to do. So that's, so that's the kind of thing where you're involved now with the slow and steady burn of creating this. Fellowship hours do lead to service hours. So you'll be, so the more hours you spent just in fellowship, the more you will be creating relationships with others, where you can receive services and give services. One example I'd like to give now is I'm involved. I've been directing a play that we've been touring in New Jersey about suicide and bullying. So one of my core fellowship members and I have co-founded this group. And now all 4 members of that group are members of the Time Bank. So all of the hours we spend in service, all of the hours we spend writing and rewriting the play, rehearsing the play, in meetings about the play, and performing the play. Those are all hours that we get to put into the Time Bank and accrue, the compound interest for doing something that we're passionate about. So my only request and limitation on that is log any hours that you are not getting paid for. That some business entity or some individual is not paying you for. They can pay you for basic supplies or basic travel, but as long as you're not being paid for those hours, you can use them in the you can redeem them within the Karmic Margin Call project and create those fellowships and partnerships around, those passion projects. So the final thing I want to make about fellowships is that, I know it seems like there's a lot out there. I know, it's a very competitive environment. So we often feel as individuals that we're not succeeding at what we're doing. But I want to tell you that if your fellowship meets for 20 hours, if you personally have spent 20 hours over the course of 6 months or a year, just being in that fellowship and communicating, you've succeeded. Okay. And I want to take a minute and pause and help you understand that that is success. You've done so much because that's 20 hours you could have been spending in the extractive economy, enabling these I've been criticized for using the word slavery, but these slave master relationships, which I truly believe the extractive economy is in very subtle ways and in overt ways. So as those hours are compounded, you are creating that compounded effect of taking all that energy out of those dysfunctional relationships. So I want you to know that every hour is meaningful, and that's what's been overlooked, is that every moment is valuable. So I measure the success of a fellowship when they cross that 20-hour mark, because those are the 20 hours that can be also accruing the compounded interest for you personally. So so give yourself a pat on the back for every hour that you spend in fellowship, even if it feels like you're not getting value, but especially if it feels like you are getting value and that you value that time, you cherish that time with people who mean the most to you. I think our culture, especially our American culture, wants to make us feel guilty for taking time out of those slave master relationships, those extractive relationships. And sometimes we associate guilt and we feel guilty about spending time with our family or our friends or having deep conversations. We feel like that's taking advantage, or we feel guilty about that. No, that's more valuable than anything you could be doing in the extractive economy, is taking care of you and taking care of, those closest to you. Because I think if we have true fellowship, turning these dysfunctional relationships around in the workplace or in government or in politics is really easy. But it starts with what we're doing individually on a one-on-one basis or on a small group basis. Okay. So this is the core fellowship. This is the 4 of us. There's me up in the corner, Marta in the top left, Marta Reese, Parmjit Nahil in the bottom left there, and Nefertiti Rosa on the bottom right. So I just love these 3 women. I just love this core fellowship. This is kind of like the nucleus of what we're doing. And I encourage you to form your own nucleus as well. So I'm here to help you do that in any way possible. But there are 3 types of fellowship that I found that, if you're looking at what is the quality of your fellowship, you can start to create more energy around that, create more financial abundance around that too. But one fellowship is a fellowship about a fellowship, where there is not really as much of an agenda as there is about just really trying to understand each other. And I'll share some of the qualities of a good fellowship about fellowship here in a moment. But it's really about quality, really about learning the quality, really practicing the communication skills that create commitment, that create emotional awareness, that create diversity, that honors diversity. So so that's one type of fellowship. The second fellowship is regionally focused. A regionally focused fellowship helps in terms of measuring the effort. Part of what I look at and what I measure as the administrator and coordinator of this project is where are fellowships developing, in what region of the world, in what region of the country. The EPE numbers that are assigned help me to track the energy and the activity of what's going on in the region. So a regional focused relationship can be about what is going on or what are the concerns of that region specifically. It can be a niche-based fellowship. It can be a fellowship about fellowship, but really it just identifies a specific region where people are from and how that energy and how the fellowship initiative is taking root per region. And then the third is a niche-based fellowship. A niche-based fellowship to me is one where there is a specific focus, a very clear focus, and you create a SMART goal around that. You create steps. So where I think the fellowship about fellowship is providing emotional support and providing energy and providing for emotional needs, I feel niche-based fellowships, are where you create the tangible steps to get to a specific outcome. And I feel like those kind of also grow out of fellowship about fellowships. Oh yeah, and I just put this slide in yesterday. Please, I want to encourage you to participate in our community. We have a meetup group, and because of COVID and because of all the virtual activity going on, we're not limited anymore by region. We're not limited anymore by where we're at. So I would like to encourage you to become a member of our meetup group at meetup.com/karmic margin call. And I would like to encourage social media interaction there so that we can organically create more meetings, create more fellowships, more regional-based, niche-based fellowships, through that online communication. And I think Meetup is a very good platform for that. So I wanted to introduce that resource as well too, where you can interact with myself, you can interact with some of our core fellowship members, and so I would encourage checking out that that opportunity for communication as well. Okay, so here are some of the qualities about a fellowship So again, I will mention that really the key to growth in the equal partnership economy, even if it feels like you're not doing much, or even if it feels like it's a slow process, the key to success is the small steps, the participating in one fellowship and the initiating of another fellowship. That's it. That's the 2x2 trend. That's how you create the 2x2 trend. So it's helpful to rotate between being a facilitator and being a participator. So what we do in core fellowships between the four of us is we rotate facilitators each time. So I'll be facilitating one meeting, and then 2 weeks later Marta will do the next one, and then 2 weeks later Nefertiti will be doing the other one, and then 2 weeks later Parmjit will do the next one, and then we'll come back and I'll do the next one. So I really think it really helps to rotate in those facilitators and to give each person an opportunity to feel, to practice facilitating so that they can bring their own area of focus to a new fellowship. What I have learned, and these are the 6 principles of collaboration that that was created and innovated and initiated by the Collaborative Innovation Institute, collaborativeinnovationinstitute.org. So what I have found is we get to practice these skills, and I would like to invite you, to really become mindful of these 6 skills in creating a fellowship, because I really think it is the bare essentials. They are the building blocks of what creates a successful partnership and a successful fellowship. But when I participate in collaboration and fellowships, I get to practice generous listening. Curiosity is a big one. So curiosity, not having to be right or feel like you're the expert on anything, but to learn and to really, to find things out. I find that there's really little to be confrontational about, or there's little conflict when you establish a spirit of curiosity. Coachability. So that is the ability to really, to me, what that means in participating is every time I listen and every time I come to an interaction or a group with a sense of curiosity, I'm being coached in new ways. I change moment to moment every time every time I present this material, or anytime I'm being presented with new information. I'm learning and I change. This presentation that I'm giving today, this little conversation, with myself in front of the camera, I'm hoping it feels intimate to you. I've been coached in probably 100 different ways just by showing up, and that changes the way I'm doing this presentation. So, I'm constantly being coached. As an initiator or a facilitator, I get to practice a lot of committed speaking. So this whole presentation is a clinic and a clinic in committed speaking. So I'm saying a lot, and I'm saying a lot from my heart. And what I'm feeling compelled to share with you at this moment is that feel free to not take this all in one sitting. Feel free to pause, to stop, to reflect, journal if that is what you like to do. But yeah, so I write a lot and I talk a lot, I express a lot, and that's all directly inspired by listening, by being curious, and by being coached. Mutuality. I think rotating facilitators within a fellowship is a practice in mutuality. So the intention is to bring everybody up, and that can only happen through give and take. For me, a big thing about mutuality is being able to receive what someone else is offering, so that I can give. And I'm starting to feel, when reflecting on mutuality, I kind of feel like over the last 20 years, I've given so much, and I'm only just now starting to receive what I've already given out. So that's what mutuality means to me personally. And energy awareness. For me, energy awareness is getting back to the emotional intelligence. What is the feeling underneath what's being presented or what's being heard, and honoring feelings of fear, of anger, of shame, of sadness. And there's nothing wrong with identifying that. I think there's a lot of opportunity out there to push away those feelings, or to reject those feelings, or to think down upon yourself or down on others for feeling fear or sadness or guilt. But I think energy awareness is about really honoring those feelings and calling them out. And I think that's what fellowship about fellowships can be about. So fellowship about fellowships can also explore potential niche fellowships. So as you're growing in support of each other, as you're really starting to find the connection and what really makes the relationship work, you might start to create, a goal, a focus, a niche-based fellowship out of, what is being brought forward by just cultivating this safe space for you to communicate effectively with each other. So anyway, that's this slide right here. This is all about the qualities of a fellowship about fellowship. So if you're not sure where to start, if you're not even sure how to begin, just focus on the people that you already have a connection with. And these 6 principles right here, just by talking about them, observing them, they'll lead you to deeper understanding. And it's okay to be confused. It's okay to not know where you're going at first. That's curiosity. That's, being brought back into a place of curiosity, and to explore what is the relationship really about. Okay. So regional relationships, let's talk a little bit about that. And I use the Phoenixville Time Bank logo here for that, because I am active with the Phoenixville Area Time Bank. I am a board member. I also serve as their secretary there. I've also created a monthly discussion fellowship group through the Phoenixville area. So yeah, and that content, those talks about the Phoenixville Fellowship, those are available as well too to our member owners. So some of the things that I'm finding, and I'm still finding, and this slide is definitely going to change, in time, but I think it's very important, especially when you're brought together within a specific community, is to get to know the individual members. Take as much time as you need to get to know everybody. So ask, what are the priorities? Take time to let each individual check in and ask them what they want, what they want to get through this interaction. And I think an effective question is, what are your intentions and what are your expectations? So I think that really sets a very powerful precedent in establishing, a connection with people who don't know each other really well, but they're brought together because they have, they have something to share with their community, with a specific region. And if you're not sure where to start with a fellowship about a fellowship. The 6 principles of collaboration is a great place to start. With Phoenixville, the first thing we discussed was about reuniting the country. How do we do that? Had about 25 people show up on that first meeting. And out of that meeting, one of the things that was suggested was, well, we have to really maybe get back to caring. Why do we care? What does it mean to give care? What does it mean to provide care? So our second discussion was about that. We went from 25 to only 3 people in that conversation, but you start to see, well, maybe that's a niche-based fellowship. So now moving forward, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask them, look, this is what happened. We had 25 the first time, we had 3 the second time. What do each of you as a member want to discuss next? What would you be committed to? What is the conversation we can have that you would be committed to attending? And just keeping that open line of communication, open there, and ask each individual what would solicit a commitment. You can explore potential niche-based fellowships. I think we did that with talking about care. And that might be something that evolves into something more about care. So we have all that material already recorded and we can share that with the Phoenixville community. And I think that's good. I think going from 25 to 3 really kind of illustrates my point. 3 to 5 people really can create something real, can create a commitment. And, so at the moment, my observations, my assumptions are being validated by saying that, even if you start out with a big group, start to look for potential areas to keep it small. Who might be committed to each other? What ideas might you be committed to? So you start to explore that, you find that. And I'm looking forward to doing this particular presentation again after seeing how the involvement evolves in Phoenixville. I think participating with local organizations is a great idea as well too. Again, it starts with the interpersonal communication and you find out what initiatives are going on there. Phoenixville, for example, has a lot of nonprofit organizations. And I'm finding that some of those nonprofits think that they're in competition with each other. That's something that I want to explore. I don't think there is really any external competitiveness when it comes to caring about people, when it comes to creating community. So that's something I might want to explore in Phoenixville. But again, I'm involved with the local time bank in Phoenixville. I'm involved with the local Transition Town Initiative in Phoenixville. So we're going to have a talk soon about identifying the qualities of an extractive economy and how to identify and develop the qualities of a regenerative economy. So that's something that also came out of the initial fellowship meeting from the Phoenixville Time Bank, where the Transition Town group were evolving into having a conversation about that. And that's all material we can share, and that's all redeemable hours. And yeah, identify the common concerns with individuals in the region. And this is still developing for me personally in Phoenixville. Again, I think that a common concern is that there's all of these wonderful initiatives in Phoenixville that's emerging, and some of them see each other as competition. And I'm curious about that. I'm curious because to me, an extractive economy thrives on that interpersonal competitiveness. And I feel it creates a lot of dysfunction. I think it creates a lot of friction. And I think that's how the extractive economy thrives. But I want to introduce this idea that if we collaborate, if we find what's similar, and we use the element of time to help each of us as individuals accrue wealth, then there's no need for interpersonal communication, just internal, intrinsic competitiveness of understanding your emotions and thriving to transmute the lower emotions like guilt or anger, and to experience pride, to experience more community, to experience more enlightenment or love or joy. And that can only happen, I think, by understanding competitiveness and transcending that into creating more collaboration, cooperation, community. Okay, a couple things about niche fellowships. So for me, and again, all this is developing over time, but for me, a niche fellowship is goal-based. It doesn't have to be. I mean, you can sit around and talk about Harry Potter or Wizard of Oz or some of your favorite pop cultural stuff, and that's fine. That's a niche fellowship. But for me, what a niche fellowship is, it's a tangible goal. And I put this out here because I wrote the business plan for this initiative, observing what makes a SMART goal. So specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-based. So my intention in writing the business plan for this time bank was out of a need for structure. The goal is to create $1 trillion revenue through time banking within 5 years. That's our SMART goal for this initiative. So I think this is a good slide to segue from talking about fellowships and talking about time banking, because that is the goal: is how do we leverage our time to create a $1 trillion and growing regenerative economy out of these efforts. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm inviting a niche-based fellowship, to start communicating about, the tangible steps in getting there. And that's why I wrote the business plan, and I'm willing to share that business plan with any of our contributing member owners. And I think creating mutuality is important through 3 questions. So I think mutuality is important before you start to attack a SMART goal. Wow, I just used the word attack. That's a very competitive term, but that's just some of my own self-reflection. But yeah, I find that SMART goals can be attained when there is mutuality in the fellowship. So yeah, so I'm getting back to my questions here. What do I have to share about the topic which might not be understood? Okay, so now I'm having a conversation with myself. So I hope this is of value. What comes up for me, getting away from what I've pre-prepared here, the topic, what do I have to share that might not be understood about the Karmic Margin Call Project and about the Time Bank, is that we're doing the work right now. And that needs to be validated and understood. If you're watching this, if you're engaged in this, you're doing the work. Maybe it might not feel work. Maybe you're taking notes or maybe you're not. But what I feel like is not quite understood yet is that my giving this presentation, even though I love it and I'm just kind of feeling the flow with it, is the work. And you're receiving it. You're listening to it. You're taking notes and you're starting to process some of this. That's the work. And that is worth. I mean, this is going to take me about an hour and a half, probably close to 2 hours to record this now. Those hours are worth 5-6 figures in a regenerative economy. Take a moment to process that. That's huge. The hour and a half or 2 hours that you're taking to listen to this can evolve into, a 6-figure return. I understand that you don't understand that yet. And that's what we're doing here, is the work to get to that point. But that's what I feel, needs to be understood. How do I envision each member supporting this SMART goal? Well, I go back to the core fellowship. Marta Rees is a founding member of the Collaborative Innovation Institute, and she supports this effort every step of the way. She mentions it. She allows me to participate in those initiatives, and I've been able to speak, with academia, at universities about this information because of that relationship. We've presented this to people in I don't want to be specific because I don't want to I don't want to violate any confidences here, but she does, and we do interact with people with relationships to government, with relationships to organizations and corporations. So I feel that my partnership with Marta is really potentially expansive because of the collaborative individuals that we come in contact with all the time. Nefertiti is really focused on emotional intelligence and spiritual conversations and artistic conversations. So, we really mutually support each other in being honest and really feeling our emotions, through our play, through the play that we produce. And we're creating fundraising efforts through the play as well, because of that relationship, and that supports the SMART goal. Parmjit, our partner in the UK, she is amazing in that she always brings it back to what's real. How do we use this information to put food on the table of people who are starving? She's reaching out to other organizations that have similar ideas, and she's really, kind of facilitating the opportunities to sit down and find out, where are the correlations, where are the alignments, how do we take that small step forward? So I honor Parmjit for facilitating those opportunities. So, these are all in support of the SMART goal, which is to create $1 trillion revenue in business within 5 years, which will turn the global economy around. So what is the next step? What can I do in 24 hours or less to create forward movement? It's going to be the same step that I took last time I presented this, and that is I usually make these presentations unlisted so that only people in our network can see them. But on YouTube, I make this one public. I make this presentation public so that it invites people in to, invites you in to collaborate, to form fellowship if these ideas resonate. And that's time for a break. That was a lot of material. So now